In this episode,
Let me guess. Well, obviously, Straight Outta Compton is on there.
I don't know. I don't have the whole 500 list. I thought I could memorize it scrolling through it quickly, but
yes,
I'm struggling.
I know you've been reading or learning how to speed read. And so
yeah.
work harder at that, I guess.
That's actually true. Work harder.
Welcome. You're listening to PaleoCheeze Podcast, Episode 19, Part 2, Best Albums and All-Weather Friends.
And I want to ask you, man, before we go, I want to ask you, did you see the Rolling Stones updated top 500 music list?
I saw that they had made one and decided it'd probably be best if I did not go there and read it.
Yeah. Joni Mitchell is her album. The Blue Album is number 3 of all time. And she's higher on the list than the Beatles.
That makes no sense.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
I guess apparently, dude, the Beatles had four albums in the top 15 albums of all time in their previous list. And I thought that was like, there's a lot of bands, man. There's I don't know about 4.
I'm not dissing Joni Mitchell, but that's not a name that, and I know there's a lot of people out there that's maybe their favorite, songwriter. And I have no doubt that it probably belongs in the 500, but you said number 3 of all time.
Number 3. Yeah. Number 3.
I mean, we all have their personal choices. My number 3 would be like Sabbath Paranoid and something from Bramp York and definitely The Cure's Disintegration. But that's for me, and I can understand how someone else might not think that. But I can think of so many more bands who are much more influential. That's really weird. And yeah, that's kind of one of the reasons why I didn't go. Plus, I didn't read it because I didn't want to see something that I knew was maybe a team of writers where you've got 8 different writers writing some girl's album for her, and then they slap her on the cover, and then she's singing, with whatever, and it's just a bunch of talentless stuff. I didn't want to run into anything like that because I got a lot to say about some of today's modern music, and I'm not talking about people like who clearly have lots of talent and who are legitimately good songwriters like Billie Eilish, but some of this other stuff.
It's something that'll rock your socks off, dude. That it's gonna. I know you've been in the past a fan of the band and you have a whole bunch of their albums. Your favorite one is not my favorite one. But when I read this, dude, my heart sunk and I thought, are you kidding me? Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness is no longer on the list.
At all?
No.
Is Gish or Siamese Dream?
Well, that's what I said is I don't know. I didn't go through all 500, but they were saying ones that got knocked off, including a couple from No Doubt, which I'm like, yeah, kind of whatever. Massive Attack, Mezzanine by Massive Attack is off. And Music by Madonna, which I said, yeah, okay. But when I saw Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, which was in the past at 487.
Did you get infinitely sad?
Dude, infinitely sad. Infinitely sad, dude. And the number 1, dude, is Marvin Gaye.
Let's get it on.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. I love that. I've got the double like collector's edition CD of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's great, but number 1.
Dude, and Beatles Sgt. Pepper, dude, is now at 24.
Wow. See,
I'm like, somebody's smoking crack over at Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
Like, that's not even legit. Like, what? This is a monumental thing in the history of music. And it's like, 24. We're just going to drop that bucket down.
Yeah, I think my favorite is probably Magical Mystery Tour.
Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life is number 4. And then they've got Michael Jackson's Thriller is at 12.
Do you think that there's some kind of agenda here? Is that what you're getting at?
Really? No, but this is It is the first time. I'm just saying this is from the loop.ca. Okay. And they're excited about the changes in this because you have, for the first time, you have Black women that are in the top 50. Okay, so that was a big deal because in the past, it says only 3 Black women in the top 50 isn't incredibly overwhelming, but the remainder of the top 500 is heavily, there's a whole bunch of them. Okay. And so they were saying that there's a lot more than in the past. You have all different people. You have women, right? Women rise in the ranks. And so in the past, they were lower down and now they're higher up, including, of course, Blue. In the past, it was ranked at 30. So it went from 30. So basically, that was 30, and now they have Sgt. Pepper's at 24. And so there is, I wouldn't say an agenda, but I would say they opened up their idea because it was just dominated in the past by white men and mainly by rock and roll. That was the main thing. Okay, and that when they broadened that and said, okay, we're going to bring in a lot different people that normally we wouldn't think about. But I still think that they did a poor job with rap. I was kind of surprised at just how few made it in there. Very, very high too.
Let me guess. Well, obviously, Straight Outta Compton is on there.
Yeah, Public Enemy was number 48. I don't know. I don't have the whole 500 list. I thought I could memorize it scrolling through it quickly, but I'm struggling.
I know you've been reading or learning how to speed read. And so
yeah.
Work harder at that, I guess.
That's actually true. Work harder.
I would assume as far as rap goes, I mean, probably some pretty predictable stuff like maybe Beastie Boys' License to Ill and definitely Fear of a Black Planet or some other Public Enemy one and NWA's album, maybe Ice Cube's first one, America's Most Wanted. But I mean, I can understand the like incorporating other genres and things like that. But I can also, with a magazine like Rolling Stone, I can also see them trying to squeeze in diversity no matter what, which shouldn't be needed because, I mean, you don't need me to tell you that there are some absolutely wonderful musicians that are female, any color, particularly Black.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be hard at all to, I don't think Michael Jackson will ever probably even leave the top 20, I would assume. Thriller. Right. Yeah. Or maybe Prince's, I've never been a Michael Jackson fan. I am a Prince fan.
But I like that album though. I may not be a fan of, Thriller. That whole album, I have it on record. I have it on vinyl.
Yeah, I like Prince. And I think it's because it's one of those things where I respect anybody who is just a musician. And not to say that Michael Jackson wasn't a great songwriter. There's something about somebody who can play every instrument like that. It kind of really, I mean, it's like kind of like they're doing it the hard way.
I used to not like Prince, but after seeing that Chappelle episode where he retells the story of Prince dressed in his flowery kind of clothes, playing basketball and totally hooping left and right with those high platform shoes on, I had mad respect for him. I thought this guy can do that, right? He's obviously really good.
One last thing I'll say about Rolling Stone too. Well, first of all, Led Zeppelin's first album, they completely trashed it when it came out.
Yeah,
I hated it. It's probably in that list on top 500. They also trashed Sabbath when Sabbath came out, and said that they were very not unique and just not very good. They said the same thing about Led Zeppelin, and we know what happened with those two bands. Sabbath arguably started a whole genre, and Led Zeppelin is one of the most influential bands of all time. So Rolling Stone has never really known what they were talking about. I've seen them praise albums that clearly were not good records, and I've seen them trash records that were phenomenal and not just based on my taste.
Let me see if I can just do this. Well, we won't do all of them, obviously. That'd be ridiculous. But how about 25? Is that okay?
Sure, yeah.
All right, so here's the top 25. You can find this over at rollingstone.com/a lot of other things. I won't, I don't have the exact link. You have to find it yourself. But 25, Carole King, Tapestry. 24, Lonely Hearts Club Band. 23, Velvet Underground. Okay, that's the Velvet Underground. Is it Nico?
Nico.
The Notorious B.I.G., Ready to Die. I'm kind of glad about that. I liked him. 21, Bruce Springsteen, Born to Run. 20, Radiohead, Kid A.
Some of these, like the Velvet Underground and the Radiohead, and then maybe this is just my personal taste, I feel like those are kind of pretentious entries.
I don't know, man. Radiohead, I would disagree with you.
Like, what is that? What is that other band? Coldplay.
Oh, don't even. Coldplay and Radiohead, dude. Oh man. Yeah, we got daggers out now, probably. I think that Radiohead, there's a significant amount of scholarly literature written about the influence of Radiohead and the way that they make music. And he's kind of like an Eddie.
You don't think it's pretentious at all?
No, not Kid A. No, not I wouldn't say that particular one is pretentious, but that's me. Okay. And that was at 20. Okay. So 19, Kendrick Lamar, To Pimp a Butterfly. Bob Dylan's Highway 61 Revisited is 18. Kanye West.
Stop 1 second. Bob Dylan. I've never been a fan. I know that a lot of people are. But do you think that there are some entries like Bob Dylan where we have to have Bob Dylan on here because people like Bob Dylan? Like,
yeah.
I don't get it. The same with the Grateful Dead. I don't get it, and I never have. And I've tried really hard. I've talked before about every 5-6 years I'll take a band and I'll try again, and I just don't get it. So, and that's not to say that Bob Dylan wasn't a great songwriter. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that when you stack it up to some of this other stuff, it seems like it's one of those things where it's Bob Dylan. We have to have Bob Dylan in there.
I agree with that. Like I've liked Bob Dylan, but I like his older stuff,
Like if you're a beatnik and you're taking up smoking clove cigarettes and wearing padded sports coats and turtlenecks.
Yeah.
I mean, there are certain things you're obligated to like, right? You got to like the Velvet Underground and, just that kind of thing. So it's like, is that what that is?
Yeah, they have their token beatnik dude in the group. There's at least one, with the black turtleneck.
I'm referring to the listener,
Yeah, if he wasn't on there, I think because of his name and because, I think that's the reason why. So 17, Kanye West.
We're going to get hate email.
That's what I said, dude. Daggers are out, man. I knew this would be good. This would be good. Send all your hate mail to PaleoCheeze@gmail.com. 16, The Clash, London Calling.
Another band I've never liked.
15, Public Enemy, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back.
Okay.
14, The Rolling Stones, Exile on Main Street. 13, Aretha Franklin, I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You. I'm glad I like Aretha Franklin a lot, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Jackson, Thriller. 11 is the Beatles, Revolver. Do you think Revolver should have been higher than Sgt. Pepper's?
I don't like Revolver as much as
Yeah.
Sgt. Pepper's.
Lauryn Hill, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, number 10. Dude, Bob Dylan again. Are you serious? Okay, yeah, this is... Okay,
Yeah.
It's not just that they have to have fans. There's somebody. There's a turtleneck person in the group.
Yeah.
I don't know who it is, man.
Someone's smoking too many cloves.
Yeah, dude, not even cloves, dude. It's those beaties. Remember those things, dude?
No.
Smoking beaties. Oh,
No.
little snap crackles. Okay, number 8, Prince and the Revolution, Purple Rain. There's Prince, yeah. And what an iconic cover too, man, on that motorcycle. Oh, what a great picture. Number 7, I'm happy to see this. Fleetwood Mac, Rumors.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my favorite of all time. I'm especially happy to see this. Number 6, Nirvana, Nevermind.
Yeah.
It's one of those albums, and obviously I've said that I grew up in that era. I loved Kurt Cobain and Nirvana, but to this day I've always felt like that album, you could flip anywhere on the album and enjoy it.
When the album came out, Nevermind, I was 21, so I feel like I was at the perfect age to have plenty of years of experience of seeing what's played on MTV and circulation, on the radio, and even in bars, and what bar bands are playing. And being in a cover band myself for a while, and seeing people who I think maybe had to be of a certain age and have a certain kind of history on your belt as far as music goes, and really paying attention to know the full impact that Nirvana had when that album came out.
Yeah.
Because it really did change single-handedly everything. Yes, there were tons of other Seattle bands and other bands that were playing that kind of stuff, but that was the album that switched everything. And then all of a sudden, you know, the bar cover bands, instead of playing Judas Priest and Thin Lizzy and AC/DC and stuff like that, all of a sudden they're playing Jane's Addiction, and who had been around longer than Nirvana. They still opened that way for all of this other stuff to be mainstream, you know, and then of course all the other, you know, Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains and stuff. But dude, it was profound, man. And I remember it vividly when first hearing that song. And I had heard it on, and I'm referring to Smells Like Teen Spirit. I heard it on a college station out of Kalamazoo. I think it was called Wider FM. And this was before they were playing it on regular radio or MTV yet. And I heard it and I thought, man, who is this? And I recorded it on my boombox, but I only recorded the second half because I couldn't get to my thing in time. And it was like kind of staticky and stuff because they didn't have very high frequency or whatever, because it was such a, you know, independent college station. And yeah, dude, that should never leave the top 20. Influence alone.
You know, I was like, 13 years old in 91. Crisscrossing my pants. And the first song I ever heard, I was in Pennsylvania and I heard Come As You Are. And I saw it and I saw the video. That's the first time I ever heard him, I was watching TV at my cousin's house. And, you know, because I wasn't allowed to watch MTV as a kid. And so I see this. And I mean, just it changed. And I was going to say earlier, before I even thought about the fact that I was really crisscrossing my pants, hat cocked to the side, my pants are on backward. You know, I'm wearing those the big clunky work boots with a bunch of socks in there to fill it up. But it changed even my style of clothing. And I thought, yeah, he actually changed style and fashion. Like the fashion world changed. And it's weird because even after he died, and I remember when he died, hearing about it in the car, it was because they were playing all these Nirvana songs in a row, uninterrupted, man. I'm like, wow, dude, this is like the greatest day of my life. And I'm listening to it, and then he comes on and he says it, and that he died, and it blew my mind, dude, about it. And years later, I remember where I was. I was at a gas station, and we were on a trip, I think from New Jersey to Battle Creek or something like that. But we were at a gas station. And all of a sudden this song comes on and it's this bass line, and I heard it and I'm like, man, that sounds like something Nirvana would make. And then I heard the guitar and I'm like, bro, what in the heck? And then I heard the singer, and I don't mean to get weird about it, but dude, I almost cried. It was a weird thing because it was so many years apart. And come to find out what it was the public release of what is it? You Know You're Right.
Yeah. Great song.
Yeah.
Too.
Dude, when I heard it, I was wondering, like, what is this? And I had to find out. I think I called the place because I don't even know if there was like accessible internet with cell phones and all that. And so I think I called them, or I called a radio station. I asked about it or something like that. And it blew my mind. And so what was so awesome about it that made me think when I was listening to that was that even all those years later, hearing that, the very first thing I thought was, that sounds like Nirvana. And I realized that's because there is one Nirvana. Yeah. There's one. You can try to be a seether and have some songs that sound like that. You can be Common Children. They have a couple songs that sound Nirvana-esque. So you've got bands out there that have a little bit of that, but the way that it affected even the use of raspy voices, that wasn't just full blown hardcore where it's like, you know, they're bleeding out of their throat every day, you know, but that rasp that is there, and that style that it's not as polished as the guitars you were talking about earlier, but yet you can tell the creativity and the personality coming through that is just, it's legendary. So yeah, number 6 is Nirvana Nevermind. Number 5, the Beatles' Abbey Road. I think that's warranted. Number 4, Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life. 3, Joni Mitchell, Blue. Was it Joni Mitchell that sang the song that was later covered by Smashing Pumpkins about Landslide? Was that her?
No, that was Fleetwood Mac, or Stevie Nicks at least.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Okay, number 2, the Beach Boys, Pet Sounds. I don't know about that. And number 1, Marvin Gaye, What's Going On. Yeah, there's your top 25, man. I'm divided over that.
I'm saddened to not see David Bowie in there. I don't get that. I'm sure he's in the 500, but I kind of don't get that. The Joni Mitchell is probably the most puzzling one to me.
Where would you place Dark Side of
Madonna should be in there in the 25.
Dude,
That first 2 albums are great.
Yeah. What do you think though about Dark Side of the Moon? And I only bring that up because of the transition in music. They were heavily criticized because of their use of electronics and sound effects. And their earlier stuff, you listen to their earlier stuff, Pink Floyd, it doesn't sound like that. I mean, that's yeah, to them, that's kind of, I don't know if I want to pinpoint it there, but it's kind of like their Sgt. Pepper, right? It's their
psychedelic era. Yeah. What I was referring to is their earlier albums as being kind of like their psychedelic era.
And it kind of flows into multiple different places. And eventually, right, in the 80s, they keep on going, right? They keep on playing. So they actually rode many waves. And I feel that unlike Aerosmith, they really dodged the bullet of butt rock, that they were able to say, to live and say, we never fell for that crap. We never did it. Because Aerosmith, I love Aerosmith's old stuff. And then as time went by, he stopped doing drugs, cleaned up, and started writing really terrible music.
A lot of that music, I don't think they wrote. Like when they started getting really popular again, like the MTV era, I think a lot of those songs they didn't write. I think they were written for them. But yeah, I mean, dude, I could talk for 4 hours just about the top 50. I mean, I could talk all day about and argue, but it's all subjective. But there are ones that really make me wonder. 2 Bob Dylan albums in the top 25 of all time just doesn't really make sense to me. Even if I liked him, there's so many bands out there, so many good albums. Even if I were to think of, bands that I really like Sabbath or something, to have 2 albums in the top 25 when there's so much music out there.
I don't know. To me, Pink Floyd, I would put them there. And I know that, yes, it really is subjective, but sometimes people are just wrong. So I would say, okay, yeah, well, you like some flavors of ice cream that are just no. You don't like that. There's no tuna fish flavor. And I wouldn't say that any of those in the top 25 are tuna fish flavored ice cream. And I know this is really random, and I'll end with this. I really don't know why people say tuna fish. Because it's redundant. Like, what's up with that, man?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like trout fish.
Yeah, trout fish.
Yeah. What are you having tonight? Oh, we're gonna have some salmon fish.
Yeah.
Baked salmon fish. Baked cooked salmon fish, dead corpse.
Well, dude, it's been fun, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been good talking to you. And you know what? You wrangled me in just like, and I may like it. I may like going and playing games with you and your buddies, dude, as much as I enjoyed Jaws, because, I got wrangled into that, a little bit of peer pressure, a little bit of that on the show too. The show has a way of doing that, dude. Peer pressure to watch Jaws, enjoyed it. Peer pressure to watch terrible, freaky, not terrible, freaky and terribly scary movies. And I'm finding that I'm really enjoying myself with that. And so the odds seem to be, if there's a trajectory for this and kind of like, I guess I can kind of forecast it. I may enjoy myself hanging out with you and your game buddies.
Now you just got to finally start listening to that Spotify playlist I made you a year or 2 ago.
Dude, what? You made me a playlist? You made me
I did.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, on Spotify.
You're lying. What?
No, dude, I made you a playlist. It's got a bunch of like stuff on there I didn't think you'd heard before, including genres like synthwave.
What is that Afro punk thing that Oral made up? What was that?
Oh, dude, I don't know.
Yeah, synthwave, dude. I like synthwave, man.
I'm a big fan of it.
That may be how I learned about it, because I've only known about it for a handful of, maybe a couple of years max. So it's probably around that same time. Dude, you gotta drum that bugger up, man, because you gotta send it to me again. Is it private or is this like a public thing?
I don't know, but I know that I sent you the link.
Yeah.
I think it's called Jeremiah's playlist or something like that.
Really?
I see it all the time on my Spotify. I listen to Spotify constantly.
I feel really badly because that's almost like getting a mixtape from a friend and you just never listen.
Yeah.
I mean, you put together a mixtape for me, Chad.
Yeah.
That's really sweet, dude.
You
I'm grateful for this, actually. Yes.
We're running really late, but
Yeah.
because we had the kind of deep discussion, even slight debate about the RPG stuff, and I wanted to bring this up, and I meant to bring it up earlier, or at least and this might lengthen the episode, but I did want to, and we talked about this the other day. I did want to make note of the fact that to listeners and to just encourage people to engage in intelligent conversation with one another, particularly when you don't see eye to eye on things. And what made me want to bring it up in the first place, and like I said, Jeremiah and I talked about this a couple nights ago, was that Jeremiah and I, we're really close. We don't see eye to eye on everything. We differ in our political views,
politics.
We differ slightly
religion
in our religious views.
Yeah,
slightly.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call them debates, but we have conversations where we listen to each other, and we're not out to change minds. I ask him questions, and I have statements or hey, I don't believe in that, and here's why. And he's like, well, here's why I do. And there's never been one where it's never gotten heated.
Yeah.
Like ever. I can't imagine that ever happening. And I see it so often on social media, and that's why I've always social media is such a horrible place to try and have a dialogue like that. There's no inflection in anyone's voice. The person doesn't even seem real. You can't hear or see their kind of soul, the life in them, and so they just feel like a lifeless keyboard that you're talking to, instead of someone that has feelings and gets hurt. So I would just encourage people to, in this day and age when we have people who are leaving family members because they voted for someone or they didn't vote for someone, that I've never seen this like this before. And I do blame the social media and the way that people are trying to have conversation through it, and having it take an essential part of the conversation out, which is that life and laughter and understanding that it's okay to disagree.
And I'll say this, man, is that because we talked about this, we talked about this throughout the week. It came up a couple different times. And one of the reasons why is because outside of the show, I'm a very opinionated person and I'm very open about what my opinions are. And I do a lot of talking on microphones. I'm actually kind of surprised that I've lasted this long today, because I've probably 24 hours on microphones in the last 3 weeks. And so lots and lots of talking. And sometimes it gets crazy intense. And sometimes because of the situation, right? The current cultural climate that we have, that if I talk about current events, sometimes I can get really heated and find myself, even for the sake of humor, right? A couple shits and giggles, to belittle somebody, or to use a phrase or a term, or call somebody a name. And, we've had conversations about what's the role of that, like, what is it when you see somebody who's a personality who does a show that's highly opinionated and controversial? The person's in a open and honest controversialist. But at the same time, there is a dynamic of that is persona, a role play. I mentioned that earlier in the show. I said I kind of do that. I know what a persona is, and that I'm not exactly the same person. This is actually closer. This program is closer to the tone of my normal life. Okay, it's not so rapid, boom, 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 and the just kind of more heartfelt, everyday discussions that kind of take place with this. But we talked about it and how he'd heard me a couple different times go off the rails, right? It's a little bit of an Alex Jonesy moment, to be honest, where you're going off the rails, your cheeks are shaking, and your hair's on fire, and going off. And it's fun and it's nice to vent, but there's also a line sometimes that that the person can go over. And in this case, he brought up some things that, look, this is something that you did or said, and I told him, I said, I'm really grateful for you. And our friendship, because you're like the angel, you're one of the angels on my shoulder. And I have a number of them that whisper nice, nice reminders of humanity and dialogue and other things, respect, in my ear, and keep me tethered, right? Because I'm like a hot air balloon that wants to go off into the universe. And so spiraling out of control. And you guys are like those tethers and say, hey man, cool it. But you also, and this is, I'll put it on the line, this is old. Okay. This is something that's real. And this is an influence of somebody who disagreed with me on some. It's Chad. Years ago, when I was writing, I got really upset of a certain protester in Kalamazoo who did something to a political hero that I have named Pat Buchanan. And I love Pat Buchanan. And a protester, a guy, punk guy with a mohawk, went running up, and it was on Cesar Chavez Day, informal, I guess, at the time, and went up and poured Caesar salad dressing on him. Well, I guess it was ranch. He said it was the closest thing he had to it. So it wasn't even the same thing, but it was what he was trying to do. And I remember being angry about that because it ruined everything. Everybody had to go home. I don't even know if he stuck around after that. It was out of control, protesters and stuff. And I remember writing and venting online, and I used a very derogatory term about him. And Chad read it, and Chad reached out to me on the level, right? And you spoke to me, and I was upset. I was like, dude, no, man, you don't understand. But by the end of that conversation, I did understand. And that's something that to this day, I don't use that particular word whenever. Like, it's just not part of my vocabulary. And so to have somebody, and a lot of it doesn't always work out that way. I mean, we've had disagreements over different words, in fact, words that we find either acceptable or unacceptable. And it doesn't always go where the other one goes, okay, that's a valid point. You made it. Okay, good. But both sides have said their piece. Mm-hmm. And both sides understand that. And there's a respect level. And I feel that, in society, it's one thing, I guess, if it's on social media, that's bad enough. We already know that when you're on, you're actually going to be, statistically speaking, the probability of you being a better person is practically zero. Okay. You're going to, it riles people up. But now it's gone into real life where people say, look, I can't be your friend, or I don't even talk to my mom anymore. I'm not even friends with my parents anymore, or my daughter anymore. And it's completely like, I mean, at that point, it's a disavowal, right? You disown. It's at the point of disowning people, friends, family, individuals you've known for a long time, and a lot of them who are in your life, whether you like it or not. And I was really glad when you brought this stuff up and that you remembered to talk about it, because I know you wanted to say something, because I think that we talk about fun stuff. We like talking about happy, fun things. But the truth is, at the end of the day, this really is a good moral lesson. Right? This is the Enlightenment Cave. Okay. Chad has emerged from the Enlightenment Cave. Okay. And this is what he came out with, but it's true. And I hope that we, as friends, not just that we would do this in our own life and we continue to do that, but that maybe in the tiniest eatsy way, that it can be an example to other people, even just to be more reflective on what's otherwise knee-jerk reactions that are resulting in broken loves and friendships that should last a lifetime. And that's what I hope.
Amen, man.
Yeah, amen to that. For real.
Yeah.
yeah, dude.
Please
Yeah.
subscribe and like and comment and email us and spread the word, man. And we'd like to get some more listeners and some engagement in some of the listeners, reach out to us.
Yeah, we got a couple on YouTube. People excited about our last upload, Hunter Shea.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were really pumped. They were waiting for it, man. They even said that. They said they've been waiting for this particular one. And so we're really grateful for that. You can find us all over the internet, and you can do that by checking out PaleoCheeze. You can look on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube and Gmail. It's all the same, PaleoCheeze. And of course, if you prefer to just listen to the show, okay, you don't want to watch anything, you don't want to go to YouTube, you just want to go Acast, Spotify, Google Play. We're all over the place there too. So you got to go check it out. Again, PaleoCheeze spelled with a Z.
Hi, I'm John Baldisberger, host of Madness Heart Radio. Join me each week as I discuss writing, living, life, and horror with some of the coolest people in the industry. Talk to writers, directors, actors, and really anyone at all that's involved in scaring people's pants off. Can't wait for you to join us, but until then, stay safe, but stay scared.